Welcome. This is James Johnson, and that's my lovely mother, LaDonna, down there. If you haven't read the first 5 books of the Song of Ice and Fire series, and you haven't seen the first 5 seasons of the Game of Thrones series, we're going to be talking. And we're going to be talking about it and potentially what may happen in the future. In this video, my mom's got something she wants to talk about. Hit it, Mom.
Yes, I don't think this will be very long. Hello, folks, again. I wanted to talk to you about the scenes that were in the Season 6 reel trailer that came out about a week ago. I want to preface this by saying that there are some passages in the books, one in particular, when a character called Coldhands helps Bran to get to the cave underneath the tree where Bloodraven is. It's where the Children of the Forest are as well. But when he goes into that cave, right before he does it, Brandon says to him, I think it's actually at the magic door, which they left out of the show, but at any rate, Brandon Stark, our Bran, says, "Who are you?" And Coldhands responds, "Your monster, comma, Brandon Stark." Now, you can read it, "Your monster, Brandon Stark," or you can read it, "Your monster," taking a bow, Brandon Stark. So, if Coldhands is Brandon Stark, and if our theory is correct that Coldhands may indeed have been the Night's King in disguise, then they're the same person, not exactly, but the same Starkian line that came along, and Bran is going to be set up as his nemesis. And I think they mirror each other in looks as well. And James, if I can share a picture, is that all right? Do you want to add anything to that before I show it?
Not anything really, except that your monster Brandon Stark can be taken to mean either the person speaking is saying that his name is Brandon Stark, or he's referring to Bran as Brandon Stark. Your monster Brandon Stark, or your monster Brandon Stark.
He didn't seem to be doing anything monstrous to Bran at that time, so I think it's appropriate to take the reading as, my name is Brandon Stark. So, and for any of you who have not read the manuscript that George R.R. Martin put out, Coldhands is not Benjen Stark, so you can throw that away, anybody who's still thinking that. Okay, I want to show you a picture. I did a collage of 4 pictures of Bran and the Night's King. And I want you to look at how similar the costume designer fashioned it. I think he looks a lot like our Bran older. Ready? Here we go. Can you see that, Jamie?
Yes, ma'am.
If I can, if you make this a lot bigger, just look at Bran's nose. Our Bran, the actor, has a very, very distinctive nose. And if you look at his pictures from the side, it is, now that he's an adult, it's a very, very distinctive nose. Now, this picture up here of Bran right here is during a vision quest. He's not walking, folks. He's still getting visions as he flies, quote unquote, through the Weirwood histories. He is standing in a background, and that's why he's looking around. Where am I? Where did I land as I flew through to this distant memory that's been embedded in these trees in some way, like a huge library repository of past history? This appears to be a younger Night's King than the Night's King we've seen at Hardhome, and the Night's King we saw vaccinate that Craster's son. But if you look at here, these noses right here are almost identical, especially if you get an image of Bran at the side. Going down here, this is the older Night's King, again living through the ages, semi-immortal perhaps, or somehow warging and resurrecting to become a super warg, as we've posited for many years. These noses are almost identical to Bran's. Now again, I am not saying that Bran Stark is the same person. Please don't misunderstand me. I just think that it has been that Martin has set these two people up along a very similar path. One is a beginning warg, and one is a super warg. If you lived like Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day for thousands and thousands of years, you're going to become an expert at your particular talent. You're also going to learn how to perhaps rule the world. And I think that's in contraposition to Dany learning how to do it. The Night's King knows how to do it. He's just been waiting for his opportunity. So it's setting Bran up as of the potential of either turning out like the Night's King, whether he's good or bad, we're not sure, but I think right now he looks pretty bad. But we're going to get a lot of back history about the Night's King and also his perspective now, having lived for 10,000 years or whatever it is. But it will set Bran as the counter opposite. And I've said this before, if one kills the other, it may be like perhaps somebody fighting their own id or super ego. It's going to be a very fascinating psychological battle. Bran is not physically capable of doing it. Somebody with boots on the ground, along with Bran's green seeing and warging ability, they're probably going to have to come together if indeed the Night's King is taken down. And the last thing I'm going to say is these books, again, started with a Bran chapter. It's going to end with a Bran chapter. It starts with Bran as a baby first-person perspective, not seeing the world but not really fully understanding it. And it will end almost like the Night's King, kind of, as a more omniscient person able to control the world. Will he be good or evil? Martin doesn't do good or evils. He does shades of gray, so we'll see. But it'll start with Bran. It'll end with Bran. They're the alpha and the omega.
Agreed.
That's all I have to say.
I wanted to add one thing. I wrote my mama on Facebook. If I were writing a scene that fell in line with that picture, it would be Bran having multiple visions after each other in slow progression, each more eerie and harrowing than the last, until we see the Night's King behind Bran. The Night's King walks past him, reminding us that these are memories or current happenings elsewhere in the world, that Bran really isn't there. And then the Night's King does something superbly unnerving to what Bran was watching, whatever he's staring at in that picture. Then the Night's King turns back, looks Bran dead in the eyes, and Bran hears a whisper, "I see you," forcing Bran out of his vision.
I thought that was brilliant, and I have goosebumps with you saying that out loud. I think that's true. I think he's lived long enough, knows how the world works, he can see him. That's going to be scary as heck. Now, he can't touch him, because Coldhands couldn't go into that tree. He couldn't get there.
Because he's a white.
So he can't get to him that way, and Bran can't get to him the other way because he's paralyzed. It's going to be a battle of the minds, and it's going to be amazing.
And to add to that, if the Night's King is not a White Walker, but is a white, then arguably, so imagine that he's both. All right, let's stick with white for a second. If he's a white, everybody's going to expect him to be a White Walker. They'll think that they can kill him in the same way you can kill a White Walker. Now, we don't really know the back and forth on that entirely, but if he's both, if he's part White Walker because he's got the infection or whatever it is, the mitochondrial, the metaphor for mitochondria or the metaphor for infection of religion, whatever it is, but he's also a white, he's undead, then he may have the ability to, it may be nigh impossible to kill him. Fire didn't seem to work on the White Walkers in the scene where they walk into the room. The fire dissipates. Yeah, and
it's my theory, and I'm
as far as I, do you think that dragon? What's the sharp stone that obsidian? Do you think that obsidian would kill a white?
They're already dead. No, you have to kill the hive mind to kill them.
Well, you can kill a white with fire, but you can't really kill them any other way.
Yeah, but you're really kind of destroying almost every bit of molecular structure that would enable them to function, to move. That's what I think happens with them. I mean, I don't think it's magical. You're just destroying the tendons and everything. But I want to say this. I've said it before.
Well, I'm going to stay on this topic real quick.
Okay.
So you can't kill a white with dragon glass. you can't kill a White Walker with fire. And we don't know these. I'm presuming
Yeah, we're pretty sure about that one because we saw that one walk through and it almost quenched the fire in that.
Yes, but it wasn't Dragonfire. But stick with me. So let's presume that's true. Okay. You can't kill a White Walker with fire, and you can't kill a White with Dragonglass. And you can kill a White Walker with Valyrian Steel, we now know. I bet you can't kill a White with Valyrian Steel unless you, like, chop them into tiny little bits. And even then you might not be able to.
Mira did that, and an arm still came up and started chopping Jojen. So it's not killing it.
Was Mira using Valyrian Steel? We don't know that.
No, she wasn't.
Okay. So, but if you presume all those things are true, you can't then if you combine them into the Night's King, you can't kill him with fire, you can't kill him with Dragonglass, you can't kill him with Valyrian Steel. So what kills him?
I don't know.
Dawn. Fire from the inside. I don't know that, but that's, in my opinion, that's what's up.
It could be, but I'm still of the opinion that the Night's King is the son of the Stark that was the 13th Lord Commander and a High Valyrian. And I think that that combination genetically made for an unusual person. It's either the original Night's King or their son.
Well, they are calling him the Night's King, so I don't think there's any question that this is the Night's King. I agree as a son, but his son, in my opinion, is Roose Bolton. But what you're talking about doesn't make any sense to have the Night's King and the Night's King's son be called the Night's King. It goes without.
It does if his father died. He just inherited.
I hear what you're saying, but that's the Night's King. You're fair enough in having your opinion, but that's the Night's King. And it seems apparent on rethinking it, but they're called the Night's Watch, and he's the Night's King, and the Long Night. Although I don't think he calls the Long Night.
So there's a question: who built that wall? Westeros or the Night's King?
Well, yeah, but then we get into the question of what of the history can we believe? Because if he's the 13th Lord Commander, it doesn't make any sense for him to have been the same person that built the wall and Winterfell. You have to abandon the idea that he's the 13th Lord Commander in order for that to be true.
Well, we talked about this in other videos, but there have been so many Brandon Starks through the ages. I think it's because it's the same Brandon Stark through the ages. He just managed to keep coming back. I don't know, and I think it's to Martin's, incredible intelligence that we still can't figure that out. But I will say this. I do think that Dany's heritage is related to the icy blue woman who made it with the original Night's King, which would be the old Valyrian.
You're going to be pissed at me. That was my idea.
I don't care whose idea. I believe that. And then we've got the other side of it, where if he was Brandon Stark, he's of the First Men line, which have children of the forest in them, which resulted in Warging and Greensing. So that combination of that two, now here's where I'm going with it. That combination of that two created something unusual. And then we've got Dany and Jon with theoretically kind of purebred blood, or not Dany and Jon, excuse me. Rhaegar and Lyanna, who created Jon. So what is unusual about Jon? I mean, I think these threads are running through this.
Agreed, and we get so much information about recent familial interactions and going back even further into generations. But his point is that he's going back as far as he can and still justify a storyline, because you have to have some people around in order for there to be a past. But First Men, Proto-Valyrians, the idea that Jon and Dany are twins but represent two sides of the same coin, same thing with Jaime and Cersei, and in my opinion, Jon and Dany are twins, so their potential love interest plays on that Targaryen thing, but the Dany ending up with the Night's King and Jon ending up with whoever he ends up with, those are, to me, two sides of the same coin. Now, to me, I want to say Jon and Val. To me, that makes the most sense. But Val's not in the show, as far as we know, unless you can come back from being a White, which is what happened to whatever that girl's name was in the Hardhome episode. She became a White. If you can come back from becoming a White, and Jon is going to come back from being a White. In my opinion, he's going to get resurrected and come back as a white because his soul's in Ghost, and then his soul will re-enter his body eventually, and then he'll be himself again. But that's not the same thing as being killed and become like she was. I mean, for all we know, she put her mind in something else. Maybe her daughter.
Like all of the above
Right.
is being played in. And I said when that girl came back as a white, she still looked like there was some consciousness in there despite those blue eyes. So we'll see. I think it's curious we haven't been introduced to Val. So I think there's a reason we saw that girl, and we'll see. I also want to say this. She was the leader of all those people. Remember that. We're in a world now, and I said this all along, that I think there's going to be a lot of flipping of this patriarchal society. She was the head of all those people. It were only the Thin said, "Screw you, I'm out of here."
Sansa will be queen in the North, and whoever Jon ends up with will be given relatively equal power to him. He'll be the elected leader, and I mean elected. He'll be chosen to be the leader. Before he probably knows who he is.
I'll be curious, James. How do you think Jon will be changed? He will be changed in some way.
Based on what? Changed on what? What do you mean changed for the ending?
Well, when you're resurrected, there are some changes. Things fall away from you. Is it just kill the boy and let the man be born? Is that
I don't think he's going to lose anything. The reason, and I made a video about this, but the reason you lose some of yourself is because you're no longer attached to your body. And whatever magic occurs that brings your mind back, your mind has lost something, and now it's solidified, but it's lost something along the way. Jon's put his mind in Ghost, which is preserving his mind. Now, at the same time, it's going to slowly get tainted, but being in there for a month is not going to be that bad.
I want to say this now. Remember, we know that the longer you're disembodied from your brain, or I'll call it your soul, okay? The longer you're disembodied from your soul,
the longer your soul is disembodied.
Yes, the longer your soul is disembodied, the more you come back different. For instance, Lady Stoneheart was in the river for 3
But you're talking about non-skin changers, non-wargs. That to me is the difference.
Okay, well that might be true because Beric Dondarrion is not a warg.
Neither is Lady Stoneheart, and they didn't have, and even if they were wargs and they couldn't warg into something, the same effect that you're talking about would occur. It's the fact that Jon's put his mind into this. It's the same thing with the Night's King, if he is what I think he is. His body was dead. Did I lose you, Mom? I think I lost her. I'll finish what I was saying, then we'll close this out. Thank y'all for watching. The Night's King's body was killed, but he put his mind into his child almost